How is it going then, everybody? I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today we are going to be teaching you how to keep possession, how to keep the ball in FIFA 20 with the best possible way that you can do it. Before we do go ahead and jump straight into the video, if you do enjoy, please do let me know by dropping a like and subscribe to the channel. Also a reminder, we do stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So if you ever want to ask me any questions, your best bet is to head on over into the stream and you can ask your questions there, or you can tweet me on Twitter with a link down below. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to go ahead and talk about custom tactics, and then we've got some footage for you to show you exactly how you can be keeping the ball in FIFA 20. If you want to share your thoughts as well, then let me know if you've got any tips and tricks for anyone else to share the ball, then pop it in the comment section. But first of all, I want to talk about custom tactics. And you might be saying, well, why, Alex? Why does that matter when it comes to me holding the ball? Because clearly the way you have got your team set up is a very big indication on how you can keep the ball. And what I mean by that is that if you have got your offensive style stuck on fast build-up or even long ball, you are going to struggle to hold the ball as a general rule of thumb. What you want to be doing is you want to be having your offensive style probably unbalanced. Some people do have it on possession. I do myself occasionally. But I do find that it does mean that all of your players are constantly always showing for the short ball, and they very rarely make the run in behind for the long ball or even the through ball down the line. So balanced is where you want to be looking at having your setup on here. When it comes to things like players in box as well, this can affect you and actually keeping the ball in FIFA 20. If you've got players in box really high, you're not going to keep the ball as much. Reason why I say that is because you are telling your wingers, your centre mids, your strikers, cams, whoever it is, to get into the box. If you've then got the ball with your deep line playmaker in the middle of the park, he's not going to have many options on in terms of players in front of him, because they're all going to be heading towards into the box. Now obviously, with the way that people defend in FIFA 20 is they want to cover those passes directly into the box. It's up to you to then use your fullbacks, have your wingers there available, have your cams getting in between the gap between their centre defensive mid and their centre back, which is normally just outside the box. So that is one thing to bear in mind. If you've got it halfway point, it's probably normally okay. Anything shorter is okay as well, but it is just one thing to bear in mind. Also, when it comes to things like depth and width, is one thing to take into account. When you are wide, thing you've always got to keep an eye on is that it can be more difficult to hold the ball in a sense. Let me carry on explaining. Because you've got such a wide team, it means there's more gaps between your own players. What that actually means for you in game is that you've got to play a longer pass to find your next player. Again, I'm not saying have this on really narrow, because then your team is going to be so compact you are not going to be able to spread the ball from wing to wing to actually be able to exploit and make the opponent work to try and get the ball back. You want this somewhere in the middle. If it's really high, you're just not going to be able to keep the ball, guys, because you're constantly going to have to go from right back to left back, right wing to left wing, even just to find your centre mid, your centre attacking mid, or anything like that. So you want to have it somewhere balanced. That always works for you as well. One thing to take into account with depth is that if you do play on one depth and drop back, naturally as a whole, if you win the ball back in the middle of the park, your defenders are going to be so deep, you're not going to have many passes on to go straight back to your centre back and then switch it over. They will be there, but it means you're going to be going back absolutely miles. And then also, if you've got it really high, it can work when you kind of play when you play it with your defense on the depth that's quite high. But for me, personal preference is to have it around 3 or 4. That then means that I've got my centre backs close to my centre mids to be able to play the next pass on, and my fullbacks are next to my wingers as well. I don't want a massive gap between them. I just find it's a bit too much of a risk. So what we're going to do in just a second is we're going to jump into some gameplay and show you exactly how you can keep the ball in FIFA 20. One of the things that I do want to point out this year is that if you are looking at holding the ball to see out a game, one of the things that are really strong, guys, is playing it from your centre back and dinking it over into your centre mid. So if the opponent is on a full team press, bear that in mind. You can use that as a pass. A little square or an X if you're on Xbox, just to dink it over the middle of the park and find your next man. It's something that not many people do, so there's a little tip for you to have that in your locker. So let's go and dissect some gameplay, show you a few little tips and tricks, and jump straight into it. So in my opinion, there's a few different things that can play a factor in you keeping the ball and giving the ball away on a regular basis. When I look at people's gameplay, there's a few things that I notice on the reason why people give the ball away is because of these. So these things are going to be the body shape / angle of the player when you are about to play a pass. Also looking at the opposition's cursor, and then player v player, which means knowing your matchup. So if you're going to play a ball down the right hand line and it's so let's say Quincy Promise up against Kyle Walker, who's got the edge on that particular battle. So we're now going to go and look at a few different points of exactly what we've just spoken about. So the first one that we've got here is body shape. You can clearly see that Tagliafico is facing the wrong way at the current moment. I need to turn around to get a nice clean pass. Have a look at it there. You can see I'm not facing anyone. I need to be able to turn the angle ever so slightly, come back in and then play the pass directly in. Instead, what we decide to do is just rush the chance and play the pass with a weak foot. What that means basically is that case was fine. If I do that again and he intercepts it, I've lost the ball cheaply. Body angles are a massive thing, so just make sure that you've always got the best possible angle when making a pass. So our next point here is looking at the opposition cursor. You can clearly see I pick up the ball with Balotelli and the opponent has switched to the player which is covering off that pass very easily. You need to keep an eye on the opposition cursor at all times, because if you play a pass when the person is covering it but they've literally just switched, you're going to lose the ball quite a lot of times from just doing that. It's a lot of sort of information to take in, but just take a look at it. Always think, who's the person controlling at this particular point? If I play that pass, is he close enough to just switch him and cover it off? So our next particular point is just going to take a look at picking your pass wisely. The opponent picks up the ball with Del Piero. He's got a couple of options here. He can play the pass into the fullback, which is making the overlapping run. Still, we can be quite risky because I have got my winger right there. The safer option here is to run back with Del Piero and play it back to the right centre back and then switch it over to the left hand side and work your way over there. You can clearly see that the pass to Kante is not on. It's not something that you want to be looking for. He does decide to try and go for that. It's covered. Again, keep an eye on the opponent's cursor and just make sure that you're not giving the ball away cheaply. So the other sort of points that I wanted to mention for you as well is always thinking 2 steps ahead. So the way I like to do this is that if you're defending and you haven't got the ball, you need to always be thinking about, if you win the ball, where are your next passes? The most common time that someone is going to lose possession of the ball is when they've just gained it. Because you're in defensive mode, you're not thinking about having the ball and going forward with the attack. So that is one thing that you need to be always be thinking about, is that if you do win the ball, where is your next pass? Because then if you do win it, you already know, you're already 1 step ahead there. And if you could be 2 steps ahead, you've got the advantage, because then you are thinking, this is my pass and this is then when I work it down. If you watch my live streams, you'll hear me on a regular say, I'm on the right hand side, I'm going to switch it over to the centre back and then work down the left hand side, because I can already see a bit of space that is being created. So that's where I want to look at going ahead. If you can be ahead of your opponent, you've already got the advantage essentially. We've just got some pro gameplay on here as now, because you can see how they go from transitioning from defence to attack without giving the opposition a sniff of the ball. Wolves for Filzer when he played against West Ham Jago in the FUT Champions Cup Stage 1, I think this was. He did really well in this first leg. We do have the footage of the second leg as well, at holding the ball. He didn't give West Ham Jago a chance of having a sniff, to be honest with you. Had about 60% possession. And the way they do that, guys, is they are very, very clinical with their passes. If you can have a range of passes in your locker as well, knowing when to play an X pass or a through ball. If your opponent, if your player that you want to pass to is standing still, you always want to be playing that X pass, the normal ground pass. They're making a run, you can then look for that through ball if the opportunity does arise for you. You've got to have a range of passes. As I said, if you want to hold the ball a little bit more from your centre back, you need to play it into your centre mid, but there's a bit of an opponent in the way, you can always use a little dink pass later on in the game to get to that point as well. When it comes to this, guys, you can hold the ball as much as you want, but you have got to remember you've still got to go forward and attack as much as possible as well. The whole point of football is to put the ball in the back of the net. So that is one thing for you to bear in mind. For me, I always try and average 60% possession. That's my kind of sweet spot. The more time that I've got the ball, there's less time for the opponent to put the ball in the back of the net, is how I tend to like it. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please do let me know by smashing that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you've got any particular way that you like to hold the ball, you also need to, one thing that I forgot to mention, is use the whole width of the pitch. One thing that is do a little bit of a bonus for you as well. Thank you all very much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.